bro.
Mhm.
Like, so we could go into the
Mhm.
tech and we could come
Yeah.
back and forth. But how did you get into tech, bro? I've been in tech 15 years. To get Snap, was that your first opportunity in tech?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Wow,
Um,
that's a damn
yeah,
good first shot. God
yeah,
damn, shit,
yeah.
love
I
that.
I think yeah, I think directly in tech,
Damn!
That's a
the first
damn good one.
opportunity. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah. Um, but you know what? It even took me some time to realize that I was in tech, and I'll tell you kind of like a realization or a lesson that I think happens to a lot of people. So I was in media, right? I was in advertising. The way that I got to advertising, really briefly, is that as you guys have been hearing, I mean, I love the arts and I love creativity, but I can't do any of that, right? I love tech. I've always loved tech. I've always been into computers and all that stuff, but don't have enough of it to be like an engineer or like behind a computer all day because I'm super personable. I like to be around people. I love business. I've always, I've been selling things since I was in first grade. I've always had little side hustles. Like I'm a business person, and realize that advertising is basically the Venn diagram of those three things, especially like digital advertising, right? It's obviously a creative industry. So you're surrounded with creativity and creative people and creative work. With tech, it is where digital advertising, there's a lot of technology behind it now, right? And all the big major tech companies are, make their money from advertising, whether it's Google or Facebook. Now, Amazon has a huge advertising business and so on. And obviously, it is a business. It tries to drive business outcomes. Advertising tries to grow brands and drive sales, right? So, kind of realize
Message.
No,
those three things. So I did a master's degree in advertising to get into the advertising industry, and then landed in New York. That's what brought me to New York, right? It was like the dream of Madison Avenue and all this stuff, right? And so got to New York, worked at a couple of agencies, and through that, I was working in digital advertising, and the startup Snap was starting to build their New York office, build their advertising business. They had just launched their first ads on the app, and they had users all over the world, especially a lot of users in Latin America. And so I joke, and it's half joke, maybe 40% joke, 60% truth, that they found the first Latino in advertising in New York and said, "Help us figure out what to do with this region. Help us figure out how to monetize and make money in this region because we have a lot of users." But it was too early for the company to like open up operations and all this stuff. It shows you how much of a startup it was that they just hired the first kid that they found, right? And just assigned them to work on the Latin America region and helping support some of the strategy for how to monetize the region. So they were taking a leap on me, but I was also taking a leap on the company. So I left my advertising job. I didn't know. Now it looks obvious, right? But I didn't know what was going to happen with this company and what it was going to be. I was really good in my job. I was in a really happy place, but decided to take the leap and join tech. But to me, it felt like I was in advertising, right? I moved from buying advertising on the agency side to now I'm on the sell side of advertising. It took me a while to realize, oh no, I'm in a tech company. This is a tech company that happens to sell advertising, happens to make money through advertising, but it is a tech company, right? It's one of the leading tech companies, one of the leading social companies. And so it took me a minute even to make that realization. To your point, Jared, of like, oh shit, I am in tech. I am.
but quick, for the audience that may not be familiar, can you just break down real quick, simplify the buying side, selling side? Because they might not understand that. Like, what is the buying side on the agency versus going over to Snap for the selling side?
Right. Yeah. So the explanation there is the buy side is the agencies that buy on behalf of brands, and these would be the brands that you see whenever you go on YouTube, whenever you go on Instagram, on Snap. You might see an ad from a brand. Those are usually bought through an agency. So agencies usually do that on behalf of the brands. And then the sell side would be the platforms that have the inventory or have the user base that can put the eyeballs in front of the brands, right? And so that transaction happens in like a marketplace, obviously, and so that transaction happens. And so I did that flip
It could be
from the buy side
programmatic.
to the sell side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it could be manually. Sometimes, depending on the ad inventory, depending on the network, it could be programmatic. Programmatic is a transaction that happens in milliseconds, right? You buy the inventory. This is your audience. You segment your audience. Then you buy it from that side. And in Snap's case, right, you have all this inventory. The inventory being eyeballs in these specific regions that you're trying to sell to the Nikes, the Ralph Lauren's, whoever they are that wants to get in front of that audience.
Exactly that. Yeah. And obviously, that is where I I started professionally, so we can go deep into advertising, because that's the part where I, really kind of cut my teeth in the industry, and that's still Snap's business, obviously, and a lot of my focus and my work with Snap has been there, and um, basically, like I mentioned, a lot of these tech companies are advertising driven, and if there's a lesson there for anybody that's interested to break into tech, is to not think about that the only way to be in tech is to be a geek or a techie or an engineer, right? Every tech company has accountants, has lawyers, has operations people, has strategy people, has business people, advertising people, right?